Hello and welcome to Rambling Reviews, which is what I'm going to call all future reviews that take this format, either myself or Chris on our own, just sort of rambling like in a less structured way about thing we've just watched. I'm going to talk to Chris about maybe if there's anything he wants to do this with. He's just record himself talking and I'll edit it. That's fine. Just so, a non-structured, I made notes while I watched, but like there's no structure to this. It's just literally me just reviewing the thing. This is the third edition. So we're 3 episodes into Infinity Train. This one was called the Corgi Car, although it started in several other cars. So as a quick recap for those who don't quite remember the episode, it's the episode in which they do the pilot again. And I actually went back and watched the pilot after watching this because I was like, well, I've just rewatched the pilot. It's funny because I didn't remember anything from the pilot really, and then as I watched this, I was like, I've seen this before, and I'm like, oh, this is literally the pilot with a slightly different intro and like a few of the jokes cut out and stuff. Like the pilot's like 7 minutes, this is like 11, so a bit of the intro and then some of the gags in during the course of it are cut out, but mostly it flows pretty much the same. But for those who don't remember, this is the one where Tulip ends up in the Corgi car, and sort of there's a monster. She's frustrated because her number hasn't changed on her hand in a week. She doesn't feel like she's making any progress, but there's some sort of monster affecting the Corgi town, and water keeps flushing in from where this monster is being seen on the top of this hill, and also the door is that way. So she makes a deal with Atticus, who's kind of king of this sort of Corgi car, this dog car. She makes a deal that they'll go. She'll help him figure out his problem. And then he can help her uncode the truly complicated door that he's saying, I think he describes it as the unsolvable puzzle door. So he says she'll need his help. He's been working on it for a long time, how to figure it out. When they get up there, the monster appears to just have been a spider reflected by like light, and then it turns out the door is just a normal door, but to a dog, of course. Figuring out the puzzle of a normal door is a big thing. It's a very clever gag, really great sort of setup and payoff. And she's feeling frustrated. She basically is, she wants answers and she's not getting them. And she says it sort of feels like every time she puts together something that she thinks is logical about the train, it sort of comes back to her and she ends up stuck without answers, like it gets thrown back at her. And he sort of says, you can't force progress. I didn't have a solution to Corginia, that's what they call it. The Corginia's problems until she showed up. So like it doesn't always happen, and then sort of she feels a little bit better, and then realizes, wait a minute, the spider being reflected from the beam of light thing, that'll create the illusion of a monster, sure, but that doesn't solve your water problem. Like, where's the water coming from? So they move a little bit through, and they find this sort of creature. I mean, I saw in the credits it's listed as the steward, although there was some complications with my confusion of that because I'll come back to that in a minute. So there's a creature called the steward that basically tells her to get back to her seat. It's kind of like it's mechanical, but it has a mask and these blue flamey eyes, and it's like pulling out these orbs that's kind of messing with the environment, and then it runs away. And the king of the Corgis, Atticus, agrees to basically join them on their journey, mostly because Tulip gives good belly rubs, but I suspect maybe a little more to it than that. Maybe. I'm less suspicious of Atticus. So to clarify where I'm at with the 1-1 thing, I still think 1-1... I don't think 1-1 is being intentionally secretive, but I do think 1-1 knows a lot that he isn't saying because he's just 1-1 and a bit kooky. Atticus, I don't think knows a lot what's going on either, but I think he does. I do think there's a chance he knows something though, more than Tulip does about what's going on, and he may be a source of that. I don't know. No, I keep flip-flopping on it, as just demonstrated by that whole chain of thought. Because that's the reason I call this Rambling Reviews, because it is just going to be me rambling my thoughts to the mic for 10 to 20 minutes. The episode starts with her having the number stuck on 109 for a week, and it changes at the end of the episode after the encounter with the steward to 101. And what I found interesting about that was, I was like, last week, every time it changed, it seemed to be when she was either talking about the past or self-improvement or something. This week it changes, and I'm not really sure, other than to keep trying, I'm not 100% sure how much self-improvement she made there, so maybe that theory's out the window. I really am just pissing in the wind a bit here, but it is becoming evident that there's something very technological about this whole world, because it's these orb power sources have this real effect on the environment, almost like a game. Like as I've already hinted, I think there is a link between the world she's trapped in and this game design hobby/career aspiration of tulips. Maybe she created it, and one of the reasons actually that makes sense is because what I did notice when I checked the credits at the end of the episode, Tulip is voiced by Ashley Johnson, who, oh, by the way, is not from Life is Strange. She is Ellie from Last of Us. That's where I know her from. There you go. I knew it was a video game, I just couldn't remember which. Where was I? I'm sure there's like 1,000 comments in the last episode about that. So I think this might even be a world of her creation. Because the steward is the same voice actress. It's Ashley Johnson, who says for her to get back to her seat, and I think that is interesting. And I'm wondering if Tulip is somehow the creator of this world, and it's related to game design or whatever. When Sad One and Glad One are looking for their mother, maybe it really could be, in a very literal sense, their creator. In which case, it could very well turn out to be Tulip. I don't know, but that's definitely something that's occurred to me. Again, pure speculation. Not sure. In terms of reviewing the episode, I think it's a really good one. I watched it and then immediately went and watched the pilot. I don't have a lot to say about the pilot. It's this. Not much has changed. The only things I'll say that I found interesting were some of the design shifts. Obviously, it looks a lot different. I really visually imagined it to be pretty much the same, but watching one after the other, like, it really was quite striking. Obviously the aesthetics of what the sort of the steward is doing at the end of the episode are a little different too, but I don't think there is anything to be really gained from that, because I don't think you can really I don't think that's going to tell us anything, because I think that feels like just an aesthetic change. I think functionally the steward is still messing with the environment, even if they chose a different visual way to represent the steward doing that. There are these sort of like portals with like orbs that seem to be the power sources or information that if you put it in place, a thing disappears and reappears. So like there was one that when the dog puts it back in place, the water stops flowing, which means presumably it's making like a rock somewhere that was creating natural water flow. So there's like a natural dam that existed somewhere that was stopping water flow from going too far, and that one that was removed, it was off camera, we didn't see it, but I assume that when Atticus returned that orb, the natural dam reappeared the way, because it doesn't make any sense that putting something in would make the water disappear, because earlier we see something removed make a tree disappear. So what I feel like I learned there was like, well, these orbs contain data that sort of put objects into the environment, and if you take one of the orbs away, the object will go away. So I think one of the orbs that had been removed, God knows why the steward was even removing orbs, that's another thing. Whatever is going on with this world, I feel like it's going a bit haywire, and maybe the steward is reacting and trying to fix it, but doesn't really know how. Maybe speculation, who knows? But this kind of environmental illusion, if you remove these orbs, these things disappear. So I think one of the orbs that had been removed a natural dam, and that's why the water was overflowing. And by Atticus replacing it, he saved what's it called? I wrote it down somewhere. Corgi, of course. And I think there's a lot of hints in this about glitching environmental stuff. Like when they're traveling to the top of that hill where they meet the steward, there's like a scene where they come across a random cloud that's just snowing. Just like one tiny cloud, so under it is white and snowy, but like everything around it is green and lush. And then there's a bit where the sun is sort of like almost glitching. Like it's just, going back and forth in the sky. So it's obvious this is all some sort of illusion, and these orbs that are accessible through these weird sort of almost interdimensional portals. It looks like they're not. I just think that's pulling back the environment to reveal the reality of what these rooms look like. They're like illusions. They are video game constructs, like VR constructs almost. It feels, but that makes you question like which beings are real in all of this. Like that's what's getting me. So because if the environments are artificial, all right, the robot, the steward looks after them and repairs them, maybe, and is malfunctioning. Who knows? 1-1 is obviously real, so presumably 1-1 has a function somewhere on the train from a physical perspective, because 1-1 is a robot, is a yeah, it feels like it's part of the train in that system. Atticus, Randall from last week, the cat, unsure at this stage if they exist or if they're part of the environments. But then, if they were just part of the environments, could they travel from carriage to carriage? Yeah, unsure. Really unsure. Lots of stuff to think about, but still nothing that's giving me any real solid theories to plant a flag in and grasp onto. In terms of whether I just enjoyed the episode in general, yeah, it's great. It's funny. It starts with a bunch of really funny like jokes, and I've changed my mind a little bit on this opening with a montage of her going through several cars. I sort of mentioned last week, like, they just brushed through that. She just went through several cars, but yeah, like, not all the cars are going to have big stories happening in them. Otherwise, she's only going to get through 10 cars. So the idea that, that she's potentially moving through hundreds of cars and, like, between episodes. I mean, this episode starts and it's been a week, presumably, since the last one, since she says the number hasn't changed for a week. And this episode starts with this idea of, like, she's like, no, I'm going through, I'm not stopping for anything, we're doing it now. I'm making progress, and there's like they go through one car, and it's like a duck car. There's like a music room car. Oh no, it's a cross-eyed duck car. All the ducks have cross-eyed for some reason. There's a monster mash car where it's a bunch of monsters. There's like an Indiana Jones like sort of tomb car that's got like all the ancient Egyptian like traps and puzzles, and like there's that rock that follows it just like in Indiana Jones. When she meets Atticus, I love that she told him she likes books, and he refers to her as Tulip, the illiterate. I thought that was great. All the dog jokes win in this episode. There's a belly rub machine to get him to go through a door. She goes, "You want to go out? You want to go out?" That's a great gag. Lying in sunbeams, wonderful. The best one, and it's one I know from the pilot because they kept in the pilot because it's such a great joke, is they're about to have to cross this river thing, and he goes, "I must warn you that we Corgis are a proud people and we hate being picked up." And she's like, "Why would you need to warn me about that?" And then it's her carrying him across the water, which would surely kill him as it's only 2 feet deep. Yeah, like it's up to her like waist, but like obviously the Corgi would surely drown in it. And he's just like resisting being picked up and like wiggling away like a dog would, and she's just like, "No, stop it!" Like, you can come along with I don't know. It's a great go. It's a really good way to do it. Like he knows that he's going to be difficult. I've already talked about the unsolvable puzzle door gag. I think that's genius. I liked that she said correlation isn't causation. I think that's just a nice thing to remind kids. I think it's an important lesson for everyone to learn at whatever age. I found it interesting that it was "return to your seat" was what the steward said to her. I don't know what... I got a whole Ghibli vibe from the steward, like the design. Loved it. And its mechanical nature, and when the mask comes back, and it's it's great. It's kind of creepy. Its eyes have like guns in them. There was some confusion to do this. So I'm watching the episode. This thing calls up, and the whole right. So I made notes. So I watched this twice. I watched it once yesterday, straight after I recorded the last one, actually, and then I watched it again today and made notes on the second viewing. That's how I like to do it. Watch it just naturally, just enjoy it, take it in. Don't be distracted by having to write notes or whatever, and then watch it again a second time writing notes. And on the second viewing, I'm reading, and I hadn't looked at the credits on the first viewing, and I was gonna look at the credits at the end of the second viewing just to see if there was any hints as to the name of this monster. But the whole way through my notes, I'm calling it Mask Monster because it's a monster thing, and it's got like a mask face, right? And then I get to the credits, and I pause it, and I'm looking, Tulip, and the steward, Ashley Johnson. The steward. Oh, that's very exciting. The steward. Oh, it's called the steward. It asked her to go back to her seat. Of course, it's the steward of the train. I get it. I understand. Well, I don't understand, but the context of that makes sense to me. That is what a steward should do. Yeah, okay. That's stewarding the train. Glad one, voiced by the same gentleman as always, but he's also this week voiced Mask Monster. Mask Monster? So who was the steward? No, the steward had a female voice. That was Ashley Johnson. That makes sense. Mask Monster. And it took me, honestly, I'm embarrassed at how many minutes of staring at that and scrunching my brain up it took me to realise, oh yeah, they, in the beginning of the episode, go through a monster mash car where it's a bunch of monsters mashing, and it's like dancing, essentially, dancing monsters. And one of them had a mask on and spoke with a male voice, and I'm presuming that's what that was. It's literally a mask monster. But what are the odds that I would have referred to that thing through my entire notes as Mask Monster and then gotten to the end and been like, Mask Monster? That's literally what the other thing in the episode is called. Really bothered. That blew my mind. So yeah, my initial note was that the credits are interesting. I don't really understand who's who anymore. But I went back, in that time when I was trying to figure it out, I went back into the episode and listened again to see if maybe the steward had spoken twice. Once with a male, once with a female voice. Because I thought, oh, maybe that's like a 1-1 thing, where it's one being that can split in two and it's got two personalities or something, but nope. That's not a thing. I like that Atticus is joining them. I think I do think he has more reason to be coming along with her. Okay, I've settled my thoughts on Atticus from the beginning of the episode. I think he does have more reason than he's giving away to come along with her. Like, he might have another motive in terms of maybe he's a bit like Beatrice from Over the Garden Wall. Maybe like he has like lost a family member, or like there's some other backstory to him, and he has incentive to want to go to the end of the train. Which, by the way, I'm calling it now. There's nothing at the end of that train that they're going to get to. I don't think that. I think it's possible if the steward is real and exists, it's someone they may have already met when they get to the end, because I just think how unsatisfying that will be for them to have been bang on about that, and also how cool of you could presumably end an episode that way, where she finally reaches the front and it's just you open the door and it like now you're at the front of the train and there's the track ahead of us, instead of, because otherwise. Because I just, story-wise, that doesn't make sense to me. Because the way this show is playing its mysteries is that her initial perception of most things has been proven wrong. She made a pretty big leap that there'd be a steward at the front of the train, and I feel like they did that on purpose. Not because there's actually going to be someone there, basically. I'm not saying there isn't necessarily, not steward, sorry, conductor. I'm not saying there isn't a conductor, but I just don't think it's going to be as simple as... I think there's a chance it'll either be someone they've already met. Maybe the cat. Maybe that's why we didn't get the cat's name. Maybe that's why the cat paused with their acquaintances with the conductor. Oh, that could be it. The cat might be the conductor. There you go. Theory. Yeah. I mean, I'm not planting a flag in that, because it'd be a shame if the conductor... Well, it'd be a shame for Tulip if the conductor was someone who is now very mad. And also, to be fair, the cat didn't seem like... Oh, the cat did have a vehicle that could just get them along the train really quickly, though. Which is something you would only really need if you were the conductor, to get back and forth and visit various parts of the train. Otherwise, who is the cat? But the cat didn't seem very in control of the situation. Cat wanted 1-1. Like, yeah, unclear. Possible. But that idea, though, in general, the idea of them getting to the end and there not being anything there, and then them having to think back, and they've already... God, let it be Randall. Oh, let Randall be the conductor. I know Randall will be the conductor. I would love Randall to be the conductor, if only because I wish to see Randall more. Last thing I've spotted in my notes that I want to talk about, though, is it did not escape my notice that the steward left and ran away, having been very aggressive for 2 or 3 minutes, the minute 1-1 came out of the bag. I didn't notice it on my first viewing, but on my second viewing, 1-1 talks, and she very deliberately puts 1-1 not on her shoulder like he usually is, and I know he's been in the bag a few times, but actively puts him in the bag, like, away. And I thought, that's an interesting choice. No real reason for an action sequence that I know how plays out to not have one just on her shoulder or just running around in the background or whatever, running away from the monster. They very specifically animated that, and I thought that's a weird choice. And then I didn't really think about it, and I watched the next couple of minutes, and then I realised that that's intentional because the thing is aggressive, and I don't know why, but the thing backed away when 1-1 came out, which means that either 1-1 might be some sort of maintenance. Could 1-1 be the conductor? 1-1 could be the conductor. I've just put my two theories together and made one. I think that could be it, because 1-1 seems very confused, very lost. The cat wanted him. 1-1's important. We can pretty much guess that. And if I'm right about the steward running away from him, then 1-1 could be the conductor. I still don't know if I'm ready to plant a flag in that, but that really could explain because why? So is 1-1 like a conductor that's like hit his head? It doesn't remember anything? Or is 1-1 like completely aware of what's going on? He's just fucking with Tulip? But I suppose, to be fair though, wait a second, let's backtrack here, because that theory is based on speculation. I've gone 2 or 3 layers deep in speculation here. So for that to make sense, my other theory has to be correct. And my other theory is a bit of not a stretch, but is like one of many possibilities. So let's just go back a bit. So I theorized when they get to the front of the train, there's not going to be anything there, because I just feel like I feel like that give that moment of low, Fool's Errand feels like a really good story beat. Like that feels like that would really hit home. You could even do a sort of a version of the story we had in this episode where Tulip feels quite hopeless, because all that and there was nothing even here. That's why that feels like it makes sense to me, and could be the way they go. And also I like the idea that because she just speculated wildly about that in the beginning, so it kind of makes sense that she wouldn't have been right about that. It would be too easy if she was. So there's that, right? But that is speculation. So for that to be the case, so if that's the case, then it stands to reason if there is a conductor, unless they go down the route of there isn't a conductor, it was you all along, Tulip, or something like that. Unless they do that route, the only other explanation is that they've already bumped into the conductor, or the conductor is a mystery person, in which case that's very unsatisfying. So if my first theory is correct, that there's nothing at the front of this train, then my second theory that spins off that is that 1-1 or the cat, but I'm leaning to 1-1 because of what I noticed this week about the steward running away from 1-1. Then again, why would the steward run away from... No, that doesn't make any sense, does it? Why would the steward run away from the conductor? They'd be like, hey, we work together. We're both parts of this. Or maybe I back out of that theory a little bit. Maybe I'm gonna... 1-1 might be important to like driving... Maybe 1-1's like the driver or something. No, because the train's moving now without him. 1-1's important. I know that. The rest might be fool's errands. Whoa, God, I've just realised. So I'm going to record most of these ahead. And if I'm wrong, I'm going to have to upload this knowing I'm wrong. And then get lots of comments. Okay, let me do some severe backtracking because this is really spun out. This is the joy of doing this, is just me talking to the microphone. I'm going to go right back right now and I'm going to say, I don't know for sure, but there are all these branching possibilities, and 1 or 2 of them are what I've just discussed. And maybe more will become clear as we go on. Oh, God, I tell you, I hope... You know what? I don't know if I want to be right or wrong now. That's the other thing. Either way, I definitely noticed that felt very deliberate to me. I wrote mask monster in my notes, ran away from the side of what we know now to be the steward. So what do we think overall of the episode? It's great. It's funny. It's not got... I think I preferred the episode prior because I liked that it was funny and it had a really good... It felt like it had a really good lesson for Tulip to learn. Well, not even a lesson, but like Tulip went on like a really very convincing arc in that episode. In this one, she's just like, oh, this sucks. I'm never going to get any answers. all right, I guess I'm going to keep going. Like, that was kind of throughout this episode, which is a bit of a weaker story. But it did have lots to chew on, obviously, in terms of the wider story, because I've rambled for, 5 minutes longer than I have on any other episode. There were some really good laughs. Like, the duck car definitely got a laugh out of me. All the dog jokes got a laugh out of me. We've gained a new companion. I thought the episode was exciting. It's obviously based on the pilot that initially got me excited about this show. So, yeah, there's so much to love. I'm still absolutely loving this show. A credit again to all the voice cast, just nailing it constantly. It's great. It's really good. So yeah, lots of speculation in this episode. Sorry, I overran, but maybe it was entertaining to listen to me put it together out loud. Or try to put it together out loud, I should say, because like, I feel like I went out on a lot of limbs there, and I feel like my history with Steven Universe, whenever I go out on a limb, is usually when I'm very wrong. But I have also attributed that in the past to, like, it's always worse when you plant a flag and say, no, it's definitely this, I'm sure. Which has been what's quite funny for me, watching Awestruck Vox over at, what are they called, the Round Table, really strongly committing to the snake monster from Steven Universe Future is Steven Theory. The snake monster from the intro, sort of like lizardy monster, spike monster, is some sort of corrupt Steven monster thing. Because that is possible. I'm not denying that is a possible explanation for what that thing is. But he is really committing to it in a way that's either going to be a very, very, smug moment for him, or a huge fall. Like, he's telling people on Twitter he can't believe people still don't believe that's the case. Like, he's being very active about it, and I'm really interested. That is a setup for a hell of a fall. So that's what I've learned in my time doing these podcasts, particularly Steven Universe ones, is that, like, committing too heavily to a theory is where the big fall happens. So my current stance on this is, while I have done a lot of we'll call it wild speculation in this episode, I'm not committing to any of it yet. Just my initial thoughts. So yeah, thanks very much for listening as we nearly edge towards 30 minutes. Dear Lord, thanks very much. Come back tomorrow as I discuss the next episode on these rambling reviews, which this one has really lived up to that name. I'm very proud. So yeah, thanks very much for listening. We'll see you tomorrow as we discuss the Crystal Car.